Now, today we're digging into a major development in the international trade, one that could impact South Africa's economy, its diplomacy, and its sovereignty. A United States Senator, John Kennedy, has introduced a new bill to renew the African Growth and Opportunity Act, better known as AGOA, but with one massive catch. South Africa would be kicked out, yes, excluded entirely, but the bill called the AGOA Extension and Bilateral Engagement Act, or what he's branding as AGOA 2.0, would extend AGOA by 2 years for selected African countries. But South Africa, Africa's most industrialized economy and the continent's largest AGOA beneficiary, would be cut out of the deal. Now, today we're going to be unpacking the politics behind this move, the implications for South Africa, and once again, the United States tried to discipline an African nation for refusing to bend. Let's get into it.
You ask yourself, do I even waste my time to try and convince this person? Because I know the one. He's also a bully. He believes in the currency of tariffs. I get my way or else. So why waste your time? But also what we forget is that this has nothing to do with South Africa. Trump 2.0 came at a time that globalization has not worked for the majority of Americans. It's an American problem. Two, at a time that America has lost the plot. And therefore, they realize that China has won the trade war. You look at automobile industry. We see them in this country. They've decimated good quality cars from Germany, for instance. What we used to pay 2 million rand for a car, they bring the same car with the same specs, if not more, for 800,000. And you see the decimation. The big ones, 147 decline. 47 was the lowest, which is VW. Under those circumstances, the US of A looks at this and says, we have lost the trade war. Because what Chinese did, they thought far in advance. Initially, they were a low-cost economy. They manufactured most for Americans. But what we didn't know is that they do an 8-to-5 manufacturing for the Apples. And then at night, they use the same machines to produce their own. That's where counterfeit goods started. But they developed the skills, the abilities, and capabilities. They use the same standard. Today, no country can touch them. So on electric vehicles and the batteries that power them, the United States realized that I've lost this. So when you play chess and you see that you're about to be checkmated, of course you kick the table so that you restart. That's what the President of the United States is doing. So he's solving domestic problems at the time that they're at their most borrowed. And he's saying, oh, what can we do? Let's go and pull our weight around. So he wants to take us back to the era where three countries sat around the table like they did on the 25th of February, 1838 during the Berlin Conference.
Now, AGOA, launched in 2000, gives eligible African countries duty-free access to the US market for thousands of products. For South Africa, AGOA has been huge, supporting auto exports, agriculture, manufacturing, textiles, and thousands of jobs, right? A 25-year-old program, and it is a key pillar in the US-Africa trade relations. But AGOA officially lapsed at the end of September, and the US government was shut down for over a month, leaving the program in limbo. And South Africa's Department of Trade and Industry told Parliament that negotiations to renew AGOA are ongoing, but the White House, from what we know, supports a 1-year renewal. So, meaning both Democrats and Republicans have expressed general support for bringing AGOA back. But Senator John Kennedy, a Republican, has other ideas. Now, Kennedy's bill would extend AGOA for 2 years, restrict benefits for countries that support U.S. interests, push bilateral U.S.-Africa trade deals, and weaken multilateral African blocs, and as well as include a clause requiring a national security review of South Africa, and most importantly, explicitly exclude South Africa. Now, he says that this is because South Africa is aligned with China and South Africa is aligned with Russia. and that South Africa's ruling party, the ANC, is supporting US adversaries. And then he goes on further saying that the US needs to counter China's growing influence in Africa and that AGOA should serve American goals and not African development. Now, let me read you his statement. He says, and I quote, China is using Africa to expand its influence at America's expense. This bill makes sure AGOA works for America's interests and not against them. Now let that sink in, because this isn't just a trade agreement, as we can see. This is a punishment. This is geopolitics at play, and Kennedy wants a formal review of the entire US-South Africa relationship. He says that he wants a classified list of South African officials who could be sanctioned under the Global Act. And then he wants to treat South Africa like a hostile foreign power simply because Pretoria refuses to become a pawn in Washington's geopolitics. Now, let me be clear. South Africa trades with China. America trades with China. Europe trades with China. The whole world trades with China. But when South Africa does it, suddenly it's a crisis. But why? Because South Africa has refused to blindly follow American foreign policy. Whether it's the Russia-Ukraine war, the BRICS expansion, or China's investment footprint, South Africa has consistently taken an independent stance. And some in Washington simply cannot tolerate an African country thinking for itself. I mean, I grew up understanding the cost of sovereignty, the price of independence, and the danger of foreign powers trying to dictate who we stand with. I mean, the United States has been acting like South Africa is a naughty child needing discipline. They've threatened sanctions over BRICS. They've threatened consequences over our stance on Gaza. They pushed propaganda about Russian arms on a ship with no proof. And then they boycotted our G20 summit. And now they want to kick us out of AGOA, not because we broke trade rules and not because we violated human rights and not because we destabilized the region. No, because we don't want to follow their script. And South Africa's big crime in Americans' eyes is refusing to be a vassal state, refusing to break ties with BRICS, and refusing to stop trading with China, and refusing to cut ties with Russia. But America has relationships with China. America buys Russian oil through third parties. America invests heavily in foreign adversaries when it suits them. But Africans, we must obey. And I need us to ask ourselves something here. Why must African nations be punished for refusing to choose sides in a Western conflict? Why must the White House decide what African values are? This is about control. This is about global power. This is about disciplining Africa. If South Africa were removed from AGOA, auto exports would take a major hit. Agriculture would suffer. Jobs would be lost. Investments would cool. Our trade deficit with the US would widen, but here's the twist. Removing South Africa hurts American companies too. And that's just the reality of things. The US firms rely on South African minerals, auto supply chains, fruits, and industrial goods. AGOA benefits the US consumer through cheaper imports. So I do think that this move is not about economy, it's about ideology and power. The world is shifting into a new Cold War, which is the US and versus China. It's quite clear. But Africa is refusing to be a battlefield this time. I mean, we're not choosing sides. We are choosing development and not dependency. And China is here investing heavily in in Africa, right? And China is here investing heavily in Africa's railways, in Africa's roads, energy, manufacturing, telecommunications. And the US instead is offering threats, diplomatic pressure, and bills like AGOA 2.0. So instead of partnership, we get a conditionality. And instead of a cooperation, we get punishment. And instead of respect, we get surveillance. And according to our Department of Trade and Industry, negotiations are ongoing. AGOA renewal still has bipartisan support. The White House wants a one-year renewal. South Africa may still remain in the program, but Kennedy's bill represents the third attempt by the US politicians to retaliate against Africa's independency foreign policy. And they're clearly not hiding it anymore. So Family, I do think that this is one of those moments where Africa must be wide awake, because when Western powers cannot control you, they try to isolate you. But let me say this: South Africa does not belong to Washington. South Africa does not belong to advanced US interests. South Africa has the right, the full right, to build relationships with any nation on earth. And our foreign policy is not for sale. Our sovereignty is not negotiable, and our dignity is not up for debate. Now, I'm Naledi Mfoloe reporting for ADNC. Let's continue the conversation in the comment section. I do want to hear what your thoughts are on this. And while you're at it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. That's it from me. Till we meet again, it is bye-bye for now.